Hello and happy St. Patrick's Day. We're tracking rain showers for this morning's commute as well as for the first half of the day. We're drier for this afternoon with mild temperatures as well. Highs today in the upper 60s to around 70 with a partly cloudy sky. We'll see rain showers moving out early today, and then we'll see a clearer sky tonight. We'll be starting off in the upper 40s and low 50s Friday morning. Friday afternoon, partly cloudy, warm with highs in the mid to upper 70s. Rain showers build back in Friday night. I'm meteorologist Zach Malak in the Weather Center.
Thanks so much, Zach. Todd Kaiser in the Blue Room with you on this Thursday. That extended forecast looking ahead to Saturday. Partly cloudy rain showers on Saturday. Highs around 71 degrees. Chance of rain about 40%. Mostly clear overnight on Saturday. Lows around 43 degrees. And for Sunday, mostly sunny. Highs around 65 degrees. Currently 50 degrees outside the studios here on Whitesides Road.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, it's not Jim and Butch this morning. Jim is still on his R&R, but he will be back on Tuesday and Thursday of next week for My Great America with Jim and Butch. You know what? This is going to be a different kind of program. We have, for a while, as I've talked with Tracy, who's here, and Todd, who's in the gym seat, we have talked for a while, and Lou is around the corner doing the things that only Lou can do. We have talked for a while about what an incredible opportunity we might have at some point just to talk together as a WCAB family about things that we love and appreciate about Jim Bishop. And you know what? This is not faint praise. There's no particular reason for doing this except that Jim, in a rare case, is not here today. And I just thought it might be interesting to give people the opportunity that watch the YouTube channel. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to WCAB, click that button and subscribe. Become a subscribed member, if you will, of the WCAB family. You'll get notifications that different episodes are coming up like this. But I thought it might be fun for people and insightful and encouraging for Jim, who's with Faye right now, just to hear a little bit about most of what we talk about when we're out there, out of the Blue Room here. And so today is a pretty simple day. It's just going to be a day to affirm and acknowledge the man who's been a friend. Now, among the group here, Todd and Tracy and Lou, I'm the newcomer. I only moved to...
Jim says he's watching.
Oh, and Jim, let me see. Folks, Jim said he's watching right now, so we're all waiting. Jim, I want to make sure that you know, to the best of my ability and understanding, I think everything is going okay. But you know what? The thing that really struck me soon after I came here to Rolfton.
You did good.
That was good.
Was that okay?
I like that.
Okay, well, not to be confused with Chervil or Chevy. But, you know, the thing that I heard soon after I came here, Tracy and Todd, was about this guy named Jim Bishop. And I wanted to know, we first, I guess, came to know him years ago. Folks at my church, Word of Faith Fellowship. And he's been a real friend to churches in the county. Of course, he goes to Florence Baptist Church. And anybody that listens to My Great America with Jim and Butch will know that we often talk about our churches and the differences, but our common commitments to the county. But, you know, I heard about this man who some refer to as the Godfather.
Yep.
And I don't know why that's the case, but what I heard was that he was kind, he was gentle, he was insightful, he was patient. And I began to sit here in the lobby and watch all kinds of people come through the front door, and no matter what Jim had on his plate, and he has a lot that he manages, he would take the time to sit and talk and listen. And he has become more personally than a friend to me. He is like an older brother. Now, he will tell people, Butch seems to emphasize older a lot. But he's become a brother to me and dearly loved. So, Tracy, let me start with you. When did you start here at WCAB?
I started to work April 6th, 1999.
Okay, so that's
24 years.
24 years. Okay, and Jim brought you on to do what?
Yes, sales.
Sell.
I do sales.
Okay,
yes.
so you're the salesperson.
And I had never sold anything in my life when I came here.
Okay, and my understanding is that you were there with your son and your husband at the time, and Jim
Yep.
How did that go? Tell that
Well,
story.
I mean, it's real funny because I had just stopped by. My husband at the time then was laying carpet on the floor here, and
Okay.
me and Nicholas was 2, and I had him on my hip.
Okay.
And we just stopped by because Brittany was at a birthday party close by.
Yeah.
So I just stopped by just to kill time while she was
Right.
at that birthday party. So I don't know. I just casually got to talking to Jim, and we were just chatting. I was just kidding. I said, I just need to get me a job here.
Right.
And Jim said, well, I do need somebody for sales because the girl that had been here had just left.
Okay.
And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And the place was a disarray. Everything was upside down because, they were doing remodeling.
Right.
So he said, well, if you're interested, he said, come back Monday morning and we'll have an interview. I came back Monday morning and I couldn't say a word. I had laryngitis so bad I couldn't speak.
Okay, so here's the new salesperson that can't speak, but Jim said yes.
Yeah, he hired me on the spot.
Right.
So.
And you have met with people all over the county, right?
Yeah, and it was so funny because when I first started doing this, it's so funny at how many times I would drive around before I'd actually stop and have enough courage to get out. But now it's just, you just hop out and just talk. I've just learned to talk to everybody.
And that bespeaks something about Jim. Jim is somebody that I think gives people a chance.
He is.
He encourages them. And
He is the most compassionate person. He really is. He's been an ideal boss. He's precious.
Well,
you
and
you really are, Jim. You've been a great friend to me.
Well, and
all these years.
what I've noticed too is that there's a difference between somebody who just runs a station
Right.
and somebody that comes in and has heart palpitations in the morning because they get
Right.
so lathered up about the news.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and somebody who really takes their biblical convictions to care
That's
and love and
true.
encourage. I have never heard him the time that I've been here be cross or sideways with people. He'll be firm when he needs to be.
Right. That's the word for him.
But he's a kind and compassionate
He
person.
really is. He really is.
Todd, when did you start here?
Butch, I started here in 2009. It was the longtime guy that'd been here, Van Austin, as
Yeah.
they call him on the radio, had left because he had gotten cancer.
Okay.
Wasn't able to do anything, and actually I didn't know anything about Van leaving. My mom came up and she said, that guy is not at the radio station anymore. And I was like, what radio station? And she's like, WCAB. You need to go up there and get on. And my mom actually worked years ago at Gillum's Florist, which is owned by
Okay.
Lou's grandfather.
Okay.
So I actually knew Lou. I knew her as Tink. That's
Yeah.
her nickname. And she said, go up there and talk to Tink. You remember her? And I was like, yeah. Well, the first person I meet is Jim. And he said, can I help you? And I said, well, I understand you guys are needing some help. And he says, well, we had a guy just leave, but the person you need to talk to is Lou. And I was like, okay.
Our Lou.
Yeah, Lou Gillum.
Yeah, Lou, who, by the way, is going to come in before the end of the program. We may have a call coming in here in a little bit, but Lou really is a glue that keeps a lot going
So,
here.
basically, Jim, I talked with her. She went back and talked with him, and he called me back, and he said, if you want the job, you got it. So,
And that was what year?
That was 2009.
Okay, so you know what? When you
13
have
years.
people that are part of a team over an extended period of time, it says a lot
Yeah, it really does.
about leadership. That leadership has given you the opportunities to be and do what you can be and do. I've watched Jim in the community when I've been out there before, Republican Party meetings. By the way, the Republican Convention, the County Republican Convention, is going to be on the 26th. We'll have more information about that next week. But I've watched him in a variety of settings, including some that are a little bit difficult, and he has an elegant way of getting to hard subjects and doing it in a way where he doesn't inflame the
he really
situation. Is that true?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, Jim is just he has got the great sense of humor. I mean, he just really does. He does.
Right. I remember early on in one of my first meetings, I call them the couch meetings out there.
Right.
There's a couch and then there's a chair that I often will sit in, and Jim will come with his bag of skinny popcorn. And everybody's got their little flow of things that they do. Lou is diligently working to make sure the next thing that needs to get out gets out. But I just remember how easy it was to talk to him, and he really You know, this is not an exaggeration, and it's certainly not any kind of faint praise. As I said earlier, he knows the county about as well as anybody in the county that I've met. Would that be true?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think everybody knows Jim.
Right.
Everybody. And every time I'm out somewhere, Walmart or wherever, are you keeping that Jim Bishop straight? That's what the first thing they say.
Yeah, that's the same thing. You keeping Jim Bishop straight up there?
I'll go,
right.
no.
Right, and I remember.
There's no hope.
I remember too. You know, his. I told him one time, creative minds are rarely tidy. I know the reason he's got a lock on his door. He's got a lot of stuff all over his desk, but he knows where every pile is. I remember sitting in there one time with him, and somehow it came up about the Second Amendment, and he said to me, "Look over at my bag there." And he wanted to make it clear, hey, Butch, we're ready. Yeah. And Todd, you're a firm believer in the Second Amendment too, aren't you? Okay.
Butch,
You weren't able to see Todd just leaned over and felt for some bulky thing in his pocket there.
Yeah.
And you know, Lou and Lou, of course, is on the town council in Spindale, and we have a mix of political opinions here. Most of us are Republicans, but, you know, we all love each other. We get along with each other. And, again, that just relates to what good leadership is all about. You know what? I was going to say this. If you're somebody that has appreciated Jim Bishop through the years, I'm going to encourage you to do something today. Take a couple of minutes and jot out a little note and just tell them what you appreciate. There's no special occasion except that the zookeeper is gone, and
and
we're
the monkeys are running wild.
I don't know what the metaphor is there, but if you're somebody that has always wanted to tell Jim how much you appreciate him, would you write out just a little card to him? The address for this would be what?
P.O. Box 511, Rutherfordton, NC 28139. I'm sorry.
28139.
Yes.
And, of course, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to do that. Now, we're going to have somebody that comes on right now that is inimitable. Now, that's not a North Carolina word, but it's a word I want you to know. Inimitable. That means without imitation. It's not unusual any given week to see this curmudgeonly guy that knows the county, that worked for Yellow Freight for 40-plus years. It's not unusual to have Bud Byer come in here and tell us what needs to happen.
Speaking of Bud, we got Bud on line one.
So Bud is going to give us a quick update. Bud, I just want to ask you a question here. And listen, you and I know we can both talk a long time. If you can, in a couple of minutes, tell us what you love about Jim Bishop.
Well, Butch, I got to know Jim many years ago. My son was appointed sheriff of Rutherford County, and he's very young. In 2005, I believe, and he did the morning report. They didn't rotate it. He did it every morning while he was his sheriff. And I just got to know Jim. I got to know him through the conservative movement of the county, and you know, Jim is such a straight up individual. I talk a lot. I come into his office and he'll sit there and listen to me for an hour. If never asked me that he's got to do something, and I just got to know Jim over the years. He's very, very caring person. He's very thanks a lot of his church. I've done radio stuff with him at reporting of the results of the election on the election night over to Annex. I've been on the radio with him over there and give the people the stats and all. And he's just a real easy person to work with, Butch. And
yes.
I love the man.
Bud, it's so clear that you love him. And when you go into his office and that door shuts, we don't know what you're talking about, but we know it's going to be something positive and encouraging and something that relates specifically to the county. You're a dear friend. I know he loves you very much. I know you love him, and of course I love you too. But thanks for calling in, and I'll give you a call a little bit later today. You know, Lou, you were somebody. I'm going to actually have Lou sit down here. Lou, you're somebody that kind of is a glue that keeps a lot of this pulled together. A lot of details about running a radio station. You have a little anecdote about Jim, one that would be shareable.
Now, Jim's listening. Be careful.
he just texted he's listening.
Be careful.
What do you appreciate about him?
That when I need him, he's there. I didn't have anybody to hold my Bible when I was sworn in as commissioner. and he stepped up and held my Bible for me.
Right, and you serve as a commissioner in Spindale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. And so Jim did that. And Lou, you probably have a good book that you could write someday about WCAB, don't you?
Well, it's not just WCAB. It goes back to the days of WBBO, 1982 is when I met. 1881. 81. I met Jim.
1981.
1981.
You
I've got too many numbers in my head right now.
That's okay, but you actually have been involved in radio, for terrestrial radio, for a long time.
1981.
1981.
That's when I met Jim at WBBO. He was leaving as I was going to work. I think he was going to, it was either Dale Carnegie or the governor's office, one of the two. And then when the radio station moved to Greenville, South Carolina, then I came over here, 94.
Well, Lou, here's what I know. I know that all the details of a radio station is a whole lot more than flipping a switch and getting on the air. I know that you faithfully are involved in just working, suiting up, showing up, and doing all the things that help make this happen. And I know he's grateful. I know he's, don't roll your eyes. I know he's grateful for that, and so thanks. One thing too about us here is that it's become a family, and I'm grateful for that. I also looked in the back there. We have a little area where there are two restrooms.
Yep.
Sometimes if one is full, they're just interchangeable. But I looked.
To be because Jim's got the men's occupied.
Okay. All right. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen there. And there's some unpredictability, but we just keep taking hold. But I looked at the bulletin board, and what I found on the bulletin board that was so interesting was this yellow card, Tracy.
Uh-huh.
And on this yellow card, it says, "This is to notify you that your application for assignment of license was granted on October 12th, 1984. And I believe this may have been when Jim took over the station. So that yellowed card, I'll make sure Jim gets stapled back up there. But then I found this, and it's just a great testimony to his longevity and the long-standing bright light that WCAB has been. This is to notify you that your application for renewal of license was granted on 11/19/2019 for a term expiring on December 1st, 2027. So none of us know what a day will bring. Scripture tells us that our life is like the steam off a cooking pot. But you take this yellowed affirmation, you're good to go, and this white report here saying you're good to go to 2027 at least. And with whatever the days hold ahead, what we know is that WCAB will continue to make positive, encouraging deposits each and every day. Now, Tracy, I want to get back to you in a second here. Okay. On the website, what it says about Jim, I thought this was interesting, is Jim Bishop is the early bird. He signs on at 5:50 a.m. with the morning news, weather, and sports scores. He hosts the longest-running gospel music show in the foothills from 6:05 until 6:55 a.m. He does a lot of things during his show: music, trading time, anchors the popular Call Around News Report, where he talks with the local law enforcement, fire department, community reporters, and interviews a variety of guests. Sometimes Jim's controversial, sometimes he's not. One thing about Jim's morning show, he will always get your morning, he calls it a good getting up morning, off to a good start. Contest prizes and more. Wake up to Jim each morning and get your day started with a smile. And like we said, he's kind, loyal, compassionate, and faithful.
With us on the telephone, Sheriff Chris Francis.
Chris Francis, Sheriff, it's great to have you on. How are you, friend?
I'm blessed. Hope you're doing well this morning.
Yes. Tell us real quickly, Sheriff, what you appreciate about Jim.
Jim is just so real. I've known him since I was a teenager. He was the choir director at the church that I grew up at there in Sandy Mush, and I guess my closest back then ties to him. He had an Easter cantata or Easter play, and I had a small part in that, and I just remember, he was very detail oriented, and but still very pleasant. And then I've had many opportunities to talk to him through the years as I got into the politics and running for sheriff. I realized what an important role that he kind of behind the scenes, but how so many people go to him for advice, and so how many people listen to him because he's so intelligent. He understands this county and each community in this county, and just how much knowledge that he has. And he's again very personable, very friendly, but also just a heck of a businessman. And I guess all in all, he's also always been a strong Christian, a strong family man. Loves his kids, his grandkids, his wife. Just a good man.
You know, and Sheriff, I have to tell you, part of my education with the county has been listening to the sheriff's reports, which I really look forward to. And of course, your department's been faithful to give those on a regular basis. And there have been times we've had little impromptu conversations about something that's come up on a sheriff's report, like a pig that was stolen or something else that was a little bit different. But I know you've been a faithful friend to him, and he has so many here in the county, and you certainly are a first among peers with that. So we're really grateful for your call this morning.
Well, I'm happy to speak on his behalf. I look up to him, and I respect him and appreciate him and what he's done, not only for me but for our county for all the years. I mean, it's amazing what good information comes from WCAB. Like you said, in a timely manner. I mean, a lot of times I'll have national news stations wanting to interview me, but I'm going to talk to Jim Bishop if I have the opportunity before I talk to anybody else. Just because I know he's real, and I know he wants the truth and not try to manipulate anything. He just wants what's real.
That's right.
Yeah, he does.
That's really solid. Well, I know people like you and Virginia Fox and others are more than just an interview. They're friends and people that have a common commitment to make the county better. So, Sheriff, thank you so much for taking a few minutes this morning. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. And the Blue Room has always been a pleasant place for me to sit and talk. Thank you.
Great. Take care.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Bye-bye.
You know, Tracy, as you look at the county these days, are you hopeful?
Oh, yes.
And you're homegrown, right?
Yes.
How homegrown are you?
Golden Valley homegrown.
Okay. You know what I learned too? I'm learning. I haven't learned anything. There's still a lot. I don't know much. But I've learned that people from Bostic and Golden Valley and some other places, it's different than Forest City, isn't it?
It is. Actually, when I got married, I lived in Forest City and Rutherford all of my life until just now when I moved back. All my adult life I've lived in town, but I just moved back with my mother, of course. And
right.
Which, they're different out there. So they can be. They're good different, just country different. And
right.
I mean, that's what I am. My roots are right there, so.
Well, and you know what? In a world that is filled with so much pretense,
right.
and a world that's filled with so many fake people, one of the things that gives me a lot of joy is to know that when I come here with Lou and with you, Tracy, and you, Todd, and of course with Jim and with others, it's not going to be fake. It's authentic. Right. It's real, and people really care. My grandmother used to say, you can laugh with anybody, but you cry with friends. Yeah. And Jim has really walked through a lot of difficult things, like in your life and others' lives too.
Oh, he has been a shoulder to cry on many times for me. He's just always been there as a guide. I mean, it's just. I'm very thankful for him.
Well, I tell him often, I'm going to say it again here on the air, he's a godsend. He's been a godsend for me. I'm grateful to have his friendship. I look forward to the days ahead with whatever may be there. And Ephesians 4:32 is a verse that really reminds me of Jim's day-to-day ethos, his interactions with people. It says, be kind and helpful to one another, tender-hearted, compassionate, understanding, forgiving one another readily and freely, just as God in Christ also forgave you. That's the embodiment of the man that I know, Jim Bishop. And before we go off the air, give people that address again. I want to encourage you, if you've never done it before, it won't take much time. Would you take the time to write out a paragraph or two or a word or two of what you appreciate about Jim Bishop here at WCAB? And the address again, Tracy,
is? It's, of course, WCAB, P.O. Box 511, Rutherfordton, North Carolina, 28139.
Okay, and as you do that, it'll just be a simple little encouragement to somebody who faithfully, day after day, they talk about the postman or postmistress, that they get up every day, rain, snow, or shine.
Right.
Jim Bishop does that as well. And so on this day, My Great America with Jim and Butch, on this day, Jim, we want to make sure that you know that you are loved, you're respected, you're appreciated, and we look forward to just standing shoulder to shoulder with you in the days ahead, proclaiming the good news that God's got a plan for our county and that working together, we can make it better. This is My Great America with Jim and Butch. God